Since 1988, the spectacular La Carrera Panamericana has served as one of the last motorsport events in the world to feature closed racing stages and high-speed transit sections on public roads. With all of this escorted by federal government over a period of 7 days and 2,000 miles. Organized by racing promoter Eduardo León Camargo to honor the race held in the 1950s. The vintage road race is truly a step into the past of motor racing, all mixed with the vibrance of Mexico. For 2019, competitors from more than a dozen countries are gathering outside of Oaxaca, ahead of qualification tomorrow. Registration, safety checks and last-minute notifications all being made to ensure the cars have the best chance of making it across the finish line in Durango. Not all of La Carrera cars are created equal. Classes range from pre-1954 model of various displacements to categories with approved makes up to 1975. Although Mustangs and Porsche 911s are popular choices, the dominant car in the top class Turismo Mayor is undoubtedly the Studebaker. The Raymond Lowy designed body is favored for its aerodynamic style that was far ahead of its time in the 1950s. Underneath, however, it's a setup similar to a NASCAR, with over 600 horsepower, capable of over 185 miles per hour. The Studebaker has been the winning car 25 times since 1993. Oaxaca, home of mezcal and one of the largest cities in southern Mexico, is the starting point of the race this year. With a population of 300,000 and an elevation of nearly 5,000 feet above sea level, this vibrant city has played host to the race countless times over the years, including the original route in the 1950s. Tonight, thousands have turned out to see the cars in the ceremonial start in the center of the city, near the cathedral. Returning from first place in 2017 in El Malditillo, a 1953 Studebaker champion, are Ricardo Cordero, the current Mexican national rally champion, and his co-driver, Marco Hernandez, one of the best in the business. Oaxacan Emilio Velázquez in his Golden Tiger, a 1953 Studebaker champion, has won in 2015 and the last year in 2018. This year he has a new co-pilot, Elizabeth Tejada. French pilot Ilierda Miron and his Brazilian co-pilot and wife, Laura, winners in 2016, are back in the Tag Heuer-sponsored 1954 Studebaker Commander. Gabriel Pérez and Angélica Fuentes won the race in 2006, and after a stretch of time apart, reunited in 2016 and have been fierce competitors since, with a 1953 Studebaker champion. Doug Muckett, returns in his 1954 Oldsmobile Super 88. Winner overall in 2002, Doug is a legend of the modern Carrera, having competed in 29 of 32 years. For 2019, he's back with myself, Manuel Iguinez, as a co-driver. These are just a few of the teams competing in Turismo Mayor, the fastest class of the race. Each day of the race, drivers can expect a half dozen or more specifically curated speed stages. Although it might sound as simple as showing up and driving, it's far more complicated than that. Months in advance, the planning committee coordinates with the local governments, selecting strategic segments of local roads that are both race-worthy to drive at speed and possible to shut down for a 2-hour window. The day of any given particular stage, the federales, who are escorting the race, advance ahead to block off the roads. They coordinate with dozens of local and state police units to ensure everyone is as safe as possible. Although precautions are made, the race stages are still subject to animals, spectators, and accidents of other race cars. Due to the drastic change in elevation, some parts of the stage can be completely dry, and others can be in the shade, drenched and still wet from previous storms. The race is held completely on tarmac, with many of the speed stages generously cambered and maintained, almost as if they knew there will be a race coming. Down of day 1, and the race has started with a tough mountain route, on the way west to the coastal city of Veracruz. Five speed sections are planned, with the final of the day, La Esperanza, just ahead of a grueling 200-kilometer transit.
President of Mexico, Miguel Alemán. He started it back in 1950 to get the world to know that we had a full route coming from South America all the way to the US. At the second year, it just became the most important road race in the world because of the length of the race and suddenly an interest of European manufacturers and American. They wanted to win, so they started coming with the NASCAR cars, very fast cars. The Europeans reacted, let's build hot rods from Ferraris and from Porsches. And that's where the Porsche brand got Carrera and now the Panamera. And it was kind of an adventure, a big adventure. But they loved it. Movie stars, Formula One drivers, and everybody loved the race. It was a story about who would win the race and who would get killed in the race. It was really dangerous.
After the race is completed, the competitors begin to make their way to Tlacotlalpan. Along the way, they are warmly greeted by many of the small towns who have shut down their main roads to allow the race through.
When we came from Oaxaca to Veracruz, all the towns over there were incredible. It was like I don't know, 100 and something miles of people. It was incredible.
Tlacotlalpan is a small town just off the Gulf where teams stop for reception, allowing locals and pilots to mingle and have a quick bite of food. Arriving at sea level, the straight shot along the coast is a welcome departure from the hundred of corners on the way from Oaxaca earlier this morning. Founded in 1519, by the Spanish explorer Hernán Cortés, Veracruz remains one of Mexico's oldest, largest, and historically most significant ports. Angelica and Gabriel have run into trouble on day one, losing brake twice along with steering fluid halfway through the morning.
It is a very demanding stage because it's 25 kilometers long, corner after corner up, and you're just coming down the hill, down the hill, down the hill. So it's hard on the navigation, hard on the driving, hard on the brakes, hard on the car, everything. It was good, we're here, we're happy that we're in Veracruz, and the next stages we know very well, they are faster and the roads are more open. These were very twisty. And this is a long way. We have learned this, that nothing is written in La Carrera. It's until we see you Durango, and we still have 3,000 kilometers, and so many things can happen in 3,000 kilometers.
We qualified well, first place, so very happy about our qualifying. I think it's important to start on a smooth way so that we don't risk anything. And there were some very difficult stages, very slippery, very hard. We wanted to be very calm and no risk. That was our strategy for day one. So far, so good. Tomorrow we'll start to go a little bit in a higher level, so I hope we will be faster. And the day after, faster, and off we go.
After the arches and a grueling first day of racing, competitors are invited to the terrace of the newly opened Foro Boca. The next morning, dawn rises on one of the most demanding destinations of the race, Mexico City. Departing from Veracruz at sea level, the competitors climb up to nearly 7,000 feet to the capital, home to more than 20 million people. Just west of the small town of Orizaba is Aculcingo, a speed stage with steep climbs, dramatic views, and today, heavy fog. At just 6 km long, the road is curiously marked with arrows directing traffic in the opposite direction of travel.
To become a promoter of road racing, you had to have a passion about racing, and I've been racing all my life. And the most important race in the 50s was La Carrera Panamericana. Why not reviving it, if we can do it? And we have friends everywhere around Mexico. There's a passion about racing that you cannot believe.
Trouble for front runners, Ilier and Laura, as a mistake sends them into the side of a hill.
First speed stage of Veracruz, we had a bad brakey on a curve, and we went in much too fast, so we had to go out, and that caused us quite some delay because we couldn't end the day.
Pilots and co-pilots are provided with route books to help them navigate turn by turn the speed stages and even the directions in and out of town to the arches and to the hotels. However, even with the route books, a navigator and GPS, this is racing, and with it comes accidents. Year after year, many cars leave the road. Whether it's for the driver error, track conditions, or avoiding a donkey, when a car goes off, it's very likely to tumble. Thankfully, due to the safety requirements of the roll cage, hands device, and 5-pound harness, many walk away unharmed, if not a little shook. Iliar and Laura will have a long night ahead of them, attempting to get the car back in racing conditions. As the cars arrive to the outskirts of one of the most congested cities in the world, they assemble at a holding area to drive in together. This is the most effective way for the Federales to escort them through traffic. The competitors pack together as they enter into the main Zócalo. Greeted by spectators from seemingly every corner and finally arriving at the arches in front of Palacio of Bellas Artes. It lies opposite to Torre Latinoamericana, which stood as Mexico's tallest building for 27 years. The entire Alameda area is an adjacent from Paseo de la Reforma. The blend of old and new is a fitting place for the arches. Once parked, spectators are greeted with an up-close and personal look at Mexico's roadways.
In Mexico City today. There was an exit ramp to take, and they had it all blocked off, and like it was closed, and all the federales were blocking it. Yeah, we had a guy who came got us. But he saw us last time. I brought us motorcycle or yeah, motorcycle.
We have 4 cars this year. It's 2 Falcons, 1 Mustang in historic C, and then the LT Special, the old Mexican sports car.
Mats Hammarlund and his wife Eva have been participating in La Carrera in one way or another since 1999. From Sweden, the race played a major part in their relocation to Mexico. Through their company, they service multiple race teams each year, building and maintaining race cars at their shop at San Miguel de Allende.
It's been a rough day, so we're gonna work several hours, take a lot of things apart and check.
As the sun falls and the crowds dwindle, repairs begin right in the street. The next morning, due to navigational concerns, the race cars are flatbedded out of the city for the start. With the southern and Gulf part of the country in the books, the stages begin to take on a more lush jungle feeling. Today we'll see the cars wind their way through the western mountain regions out of Mexico City, en route to Queratáro. Just 132 miles northwest of the capital, Querétaro is the fastest growing city in the country, with over 1 million people living in the metropolitan area. Jiquipilco, named for the small village at the end of the stage, is a 12-kilometer speed section with 83 corners. With canopy covered sections giving way to the large drop-offs and view of the Jocotitlan volcano in the distance, stages in this area often hide wet roads in the shade.
I was 2-year-old when my dad took me to the last race. Fast forward all the way to 88. I was racing, then we started doing a race in Baja. And suddenly in La Carrera Classic, this started to be something with the phenomenon of vintage racing. I figured that it would be the moment to start doing again La Carrera Panamericana. We asked for the permit, but not in the very same way La Carrera was back in the 50s, where you just paralyzed the country. So we started doing on the sections that were likable to have a road race. And then it started to become very famous and popular with people. I didn't even know what was going to happen. I just gave some rules that you go fast here, then you go from here to here, and suddenly it happened. And everybody took care of it, and everybody loved it.
With such a demanding schedule, the overwhelming task of the race begins to show some of the competitors, getting turned around in small villages and missing timed sections. Sacacorchos, affectionately corkscrew, is the second to last stage of the day. At 5 km long, the delightfully curvy road leads competitors up a ridge with unique flowing switchbacks. As the cars enter the historical part of Querétaro, they are greeted with a warm reception from the locals. Gathering once again in the city center for a cold drink and to unwind after a long day of racing. Participating for 3 years as a co-driver and now in his 6th behind the wheel, Hans has been doing well behind the wheel of his 1965 Mustang, coming in first the first 3 days in Historica C-Class.
First place in the class again, and today I don't dare to tell yet, but we have good hopes for today. The last round was extremely fast. I had to ease off a little bit to spare the engine. I can do 210, but on the other hand, I need an engine for another 4 days.
everybody that follows the race knows that it's a really, really hard race and you need to take care every day.
Agustin was inspired to compete in the race in 2014 when the route arrived his birthplace of Durango. Competing directly with Hans, he's also in a 1965 fastback in historic C.
He is coming closer and closer and closer. So next year he will be.
Next year.
Next
Did you
year,
hear?
next year,
Next
next year,
year.
next
Did you
year.
hear that he said next year?
Yeah.
Maybe this year, my friend. Nobody knows. Actually, we are talking about you, that you are really, really fast. He has a Mustang, 1965 like me. He's a Europe guy. I'm a Mexican guy. I'm trying to defend the Mexican honor.
My best friend here. My best friend.
Day 4 is all about one thing, Mil Cumbres. 1,000 Hills in Spanish. Mil Cumbres is one of the most challenging and talked about speed stages on the race. Situated on the edge of canyon between the mountains of Michoacán and the lowlands of Tierra Caliente, the exceptionally well-maintained stretch of road winds along the mountainside on the way to the state capital of Morelia. It's a 19-kilometer speed stage with 119 corners. Beautiful views, punctuated by dramatic drop-offs, mistakes on this stage can be costly. Years ago, Doc Muckett had a crash here and ended up upside down in a river unconscious. The stage is so coveted, it's run numerous times during the event.
It's very rare or difficult to see so many curves with that much camber. So you can actually fly from one curve to the other and you can go around very fast because of the camber. And one follows the other all down the forest. It's incredible.
Back at the service, there's an explosion of transmissions, tires, brake fluid, an entire race pitting on the side of the road. With such a short window of time, every team member has to do their job, and they have to do it fast. As cars arrive, they must find their team as quickly as possible so the repairs can be done. After a stage like Mil Cumbres, there are many.
To be at the first places of the race, you need to have a very, very car close to be perfect, and you need to drive close to be perfect.
Alex and his father Efraín Vega have been running La Carrera for 28 years. Over the years, they have built 11 Studebakers for the race. This year, they're providing race service for 9 Studebakers, the Mexican-built LT and the Mustang. With so many of the top competitors being managed by the same team, division of resources can sometimes get a bit tense behind the scenes.
The first 4 places be of our cars. When the race begins, all that guys be good friends, and then the other catch him, and then some had some accidents, be real no be so good friends.
Having a nasty accident on the second day, the golf-colored Studebaker took up much of the team's time getting it back on the road.
Today was not so good. We did a nice first stage, but in the end of the stage, something happened with our gearbox. It just rolled out of the stage. So we went on a trailer up here, and now we are changing the gearbox. The most important thing is to get to the finish line.
We're changing transmissions now. It's a really good racing transmission, but it seems like the bearing for the input shaft flew, and that screwed up the whole thing. But it's a shame. He was leading by 7-8 minutes in his class or something, so now we're back to square one again. If you're into track racing, for example, you're at the track and you have a specific pit area, pit box where you have everything. We just have to come and set up everything in the middle of nowhere and bring our own power and everything. So it's the logistics is really difficult. You have to be at the right place at the right time.
We don't have any crew. We have some people, but they're back at the hotel, I think. They got brake issues, and I might have flat spotted a tire on the right rear, and it's stuck in first gear for a while.
While the mechanics work on the cars, the drivers get a chance to recharge themselves. Race teams that have been providing support for years know that it takes much more than just fixing the cars to have a successful race.
I let the mechanics do their work and I cook. We're checking the cars. In the meantime, I'm feeding our crew and our drivers to make sure that not only the car has fuel, but they have fuel too. Everybody's gotta eat.
This is what we are really serving on fresh food. It's an entry, it's a main course, and it's a dessert. And it's made for a racer's stomach. Amazing what a good chef can do in 20 minutes, half an hour on a 3-course menu.
As quickly as they arrive, they are gone, with the race cars headed back to another go at Mil Cumbres, and the rest of the support crews heading into Morelia to meet them in the center.
When I started in '88, we just let almost stock engines. They go fast, they had fun. Drivers, can we go faster? Well, that's something you cannot control. This is a race. You go fast. They go 175 miles an hour, and it's fast, but it's safer because of the new rules. When we started the race, my rule book was about 2 sheets of paper. Do whatever you want, don't cheat, please. Nowadays, it's 110 pages about safety, about the rules. Now timing and scoring has been different. Somehow it's exploded, and the development of the race goes along with the development of progress.
Founded in 1541, Morelia, a city of nearly 800,000 people, is well known to be the winter resting spot for millions of monarch butterflies arriving next month. As the competitors reach the arches, they are greeted with an incredibly beautiful cathedral and enthusiastic locals looking to get a glimpse of the race cars. A number of great eateries lining the Zócalo, and it's customary to partake, enjoying the scenery before getting some rest after another full day of racing.
You make a lot of friends here from the beginning, and you want everybody to arrive in Durango, and that's the most important, so you help each other. You really help each other, the mechanics help each other.
It's a very nice spirit. Very friendly, and it's a little bit like Paris-Dakar on the road. You really have to finish every day, and the speed is important, but not only the speed. You have to arrive.
That night, the race gathers on a rooftop, opposite to the cathedral, for the award ceremony. Most nights, awards are given out to the day's winner in each class and updates on the race overall, including adjustments on the route for the next day. A small marker of how far they've come and motivation to keep them pushing on. Early morning and the competitors are back at it again, on the stage called La Cascada, so named for the large waterfall that adorns the starting area. Although Mil Cumbres is the main attraction, La Cascada is no slouch, with 16 km and 124 corners. Halfway through, and the race has begun to claim a number of cars, as the field is beginning to thin out. As the race heads north towards Guanajuato, it reaches one of the most incredible transit stages on the route, Lago de Cuitzeo. Lying in a freshwater basin, at nearly 6,000 feet above sea level, the 50-kilometer-long, very shallow lake rises and falls depending upon rainfall.
One of the factors that was really influencing him is that Manuel Fangio was here the first year. And from San Luis Potosí, 4 days, he was alongside with me. He was about 81. He was still a big character on racing. And then 2 years after that, there was Nick Mason, the guys from Pink Floyd. Called me and they said, we want to race in your race, but we don't want any kind of publicity at all about us. They're all right. I don't want singers, I want racers. No, hold it. We want to race. All right. That was amazing.
Founded in 1548, the extraordinary city of Guanajuato grew rapidly thanks to the discovery of silver. Much of the city was not passable by vehicle, so the solution was to convert underground caverns where the Rio Guanajuato used it to flow into buried streets. The underground labyrinth functions much like a metro system, with loops and junctions. Up above, a vast and colorful colonial town with plenty to fall in love with. The caverns make it nearly impossible to use GPS, but as long as the race cars don't get lost along the way, the welcome is one of a kind.
Well, the race has not been going well. The first day we broke a drive shaft on the way to the starting line. The second day we blew the engine. So we lost day one and day two. I've driven Formula cars all my life. And I've been in, I can't tell you how many races where it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen, not going to happen. And the last lap, the guy ahead brakes, blows up, crashes, and it happens. So you keep on going because you never know.
As the race pushes further north in the country, the terrain begins to get more rigid and desert-like. After an early morning transit through Aguascalientes, the race turns west for another legendary speed section. La Congoja is a challenging one-way in, one-way out speed section that claims a number of cars each year. La Congoja is 11 kilometers, with 72 corners and a huge drop-off. With fatigued pilots sensing the finish line looming, there's little room for error. At the top of the hill lies the tiny village of La Congoja. Without even a single traffic light, the town has hosted service for La Carrera for a number of years and gained many young fans as a result. School children wait all year for the favorite pilots to return, as the pilots wait all year to return for the same roadside quesadillas.
You love racing, that's it. There's no possible way you can stop. That's why everybody goes faster and faster and quicker and higher, because that's the challenge of life.
Owner of Euro Latino Racing Services, Matias was convinced by a friend to help service a Ford Falcon in the race in 2008. Enjoying the event immensely, he quit his job in Germany, relocated to Mexico, and has been providing race services since. This year, he is running 4 cars, including Agustin's Mustang, which unfortunately had trouble yesterday on the way to Guanajuato.
Just yesterday, one of our clients blew his engine, his transmission and his differential in the same moment. So finally we took the car to San Miguel to our shop and disassembled everything, and we made a 3-week job in one night with 5 people. So as you can see on me, I have been working non-stop, I have not been sleeping. Also I have been driving the service car all the way up from the last station, and I hope I will have some good sleep tonight.
First came here just to look at the race and see if we want to do it, and we said let's do it once, but we just loved it, so we just came back and we ended up living here. Now we have a shop in San Miguel Allende and we take care of other clients. Anybody can do it. I have people that are totally rookies that never been in a race car, more or less, and you can have a fast car and be very competitive, or you can have a little car that just make it. But they have as much fun and maybe more fun because in the top it's such a competitive, they are like stone faces.
Yesterday was a terrible day for us. 2 of my customers crashed, another guy blew the clutch, but we worked until 3 a.m. last night and we are ready for rolling today.
Providing service for the last 12 years, Jose Luis runs Farben Motors in Mexico City, specializing in a number of Porsches, many running in Historica B+.
It's a lot of work. To take care of 6 cars, we brought 24 people, 5 service cars, the vans and all that, so it's a big job too. This is like a marathon. Half of the work is the drivers and the co-drivers, and the other half is all the mechanics and all this. We have a service van. Almost all the shop is in there with all the parts. You have to bring all spare parts. We have spare engines, spare transmissions, spare suspension. So you have to be ready for, you never know what's going to happen in this race.
Lots of smoke.
Okay, I'll take a look.
When we're in stages. Saying goodbye to such an intimate location, competitors race back down the mountain, recharged and refreshed, ready to push onto the finish line tomorrow. Late in the day and likely to catch you off guard, competitors are challenged with one of the fastest speed sections of the road, La Bufa. Just on the outskirts of Zacatecas is La Bufa, a barren mountain top. Rolling straights and high speeds means any mistakes are multiplied. La Bufa is 7 kilometers with just 10 corners, all very slippery. Founded in 1548 with a population of 140,000, Zacatecas was one of the original stops in the 1950s eras La Carrera. As one of the final stop of the race, it doesn't disappoint for flair.
Sometimes I get really tired. 7 years ago, I say, I'm gonna quit. It's a lot of work. There was a suggestion from Los Pinos, which is the White House of Mexico. Say, keep on going. Oh shit, all right. And the President brothers were in my races for 6 years. Now, both my daughters are involved and they keep me pushing. Let's keep on doing. All right, let's do it. And we're all a family. I know every single guy that helps in the race. From the guy who keeps a flag on the middle of nowhere to the chief doctor, everybody, they're my friends. I love this because when you're racing a race, then you go to your country and say, this is real freedom. For instance, this is a very difficult year, so keep on doing it. And it's the best thing we can do as Mexicans. I mean, we don't quit. You need the courage to keep on doing the things you love.
After the sunset, anyone participating in the race can gather and join the burro, a donkey that is paraded through the streets carrying some mezcal. Small cups are handed out as necklaces. As crowds of people make their way to the Quinta Real for the awards, a former bullfight ring turned into a 4-star hotel. Just when it feels over, down comes on the longest day of the race. To get to the first race stage, the early morning transit from Zacatecas to Durango takes 5 hours, almost all the way to the Pacific coast at Mazatlan. Why go all this distance? Simple, the roads. The $2.2 billion Durango-Mazatlan highway spans 140 miles, crossing the Sierra Madre Occidental mountains, completed in 2013 with 115 bridges and 61 tunnels. The crown jewel of the sprawling highway is undoubtedly the Baluarte Bridge, the highest cable-stayed bridge in the world at a record-breaking 3,600 feet across and 1,312 feet below. Cutting the transit time from 6 hours to 2.5, the autopista is a marvel to witness. And the cars are here to return on what the highway was designed to replace, the mountainous Espinazo del Diablo. The Devil's Backbone is one of the final and perhaps most notorious stages of La Carrera. With 1,000-foot drop-offs on either side, it races back along the crest of the mountains to Durango, and it's as dangerous as it is unforgiving. Espinazo del Diablo is 33 kilometers with a staggering 400 corners. With the finish line in sight, the stages back to town are make or break, and it's easy for competitors to forget that if they risk it big here, it could cost them the entire race.
There is so much involved in the race. As far as the image of our country goes, that I believe it's a duty for us to keep on doing what we do. There's no other place in the world that you have a race like this.
At the top are Ricardo Cordero and Marco Hernandez in first place with a time of 5 hours, 5 minutes and 5 seconds. The result is a testament to just how much racing there's to be had over a week. And with the second place being only 1 minute and 14 seconds behind, it's incredible to see how close it can be even up to the final day. To finish first, you must first finish. Perhaps a sentiment that rings more true for La Carrera Panamericana than any other motorsport race in the world. As the sun sets on another year of La Carrera, teams are elated to cross the finish line after a grueling 7 days and 2,000 miles. Without any monetary prize, the thrill of the race for many is indeed finishing, and no matter what position they're in, knowing they have achieved what they set out to do. It's one hell of a ride through Mexico, and no matter how you're participating in the race, the spirit of La Carrera is there for all to enjoy.